So I was just thinking. Hi, and welcome to I Was Just Thinking, a podcast about creative confidence, creativity, and just stuff. I feel very warm today. Very like my brain is not really with me. So it's going to be an interesting one. Because, yeah, as you know, these episodes are not cut and they're just one shot of me thinking about things. So I think we're going to really think about the key points today and talk about everything around that. Because today's topic is I hate everything I make. Why do I feel that too much today? Today is literally one of those days, actually, that I feel tired. My brain is not braining. My body is not with me today. I don't know if it's hormones or what, but yeah, I feel like if I do anything creative today, like this, and I need to do editing today later, I actually need to also finish one composition thing later on as well. I feel like I just need to push it a lot today. And I'm probably not going to like everything I do today because my brain is not with me. But I guess I just need to accept that. And these days exist. So let's just get into the pointers. So I guess what I wanted to talk about, especially something that happens a lot in the beginning of artistic journey. And I feel like this is something that I see so much in social media and with my clients when we talk about their creative journey, is about when your taste outspaces your skill. So in this podcast, I've been talking a lot about the idea that the music industry and the art industry, or whatever industry or creative industry you're in, they all have their own rules. And inside of those rules, you have a lot of techniques that you need to learn. Maybe there's a program that you need to learn, or if you draw, maybe there are certain pencil techniques that you need to learn, or paint techniques and so on. And it needs a lot of skill. But then same time, we need to be also creative and embrace our creativity. But sometimes the techniques and the learning of the skills can take over, and it can kind of mask everything else, like make us a bit confused about where does the line go between what I need to learn and who I am as a creative. So we're going to talk about that today. And especially when your taste and what you see yourself doing and what you see in your head does not match to your skills. So the first pointer I have here is that your taste is not the problem, it's a sign of potential. If you can see that your work doesn't yet match your vision, it means you already have the awareness. I almost read awesomeness, but kind of works as well. The awareness that creative taste needs to improve. That's a strength and not a flaw. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It just means that often in those points, then we kind of end up going and ask someone else's help. Because if there is something that you see that you have a vision for, but you can't do it at this point, because your skills are not there yet. But I would also add to that couple things, is that firstly, there's no shame on taking things slowly when you're learning things. It's okay to think, okay, I want to one day create this one thing. So example for me, right now, I'm in a point where I'm learning coding and this interactive sound design stuff. I've been doing it. I've got funding for it from Art Council last year. I've been doing it as a job for 5 years for this dance company. So I'm not completely in the beginning, but I'm still learning a lot because I need to learn coding. I need to learn about sensors, about soldering, and like all these like really techie things. And it's very intimidating to me. But I have this vision, right? I have this project that I want to do surrounded that. I'm not going to go to the details now because it might bore you. that might be another video for another time on another channel. I have this idea what I want it to be, but my skills are nowhere near what it requires to do that project. But realistically, I have now accepted that it might actually take not months, not 1 year, but actually maybe 5 to 10 to 15 years for me to get to that point. So sometimes you just need to accept that there will be a journey for certain projects. If you want to if you're a musician and you want to make a hit, number one hit to the pop list, then maybe if you just started and you don't know the rules of the game yet and the rules of the music industry yet, how can you expect to just suddenly be there like this? Yes, there's some people who are lucky that they got the rules without learning them, or, you know, there was just someone who helped them or something. But in realistic terms, sometimes we just need to accept that sometimes certain things are going to take longer because we have a lot to learn, like this interactive sound design thing for me. But it doesn't mean that I can't do things in the meanwhile, and especially things that takes me towards that bigger goal. So right now I'm doing little smaller projects, and each one of them are like a part of the bigger one. So I'm learning certain smaller techniques and I'm constantly like going towards it. And I have this vision and I want to do it, but I just need to start somewhere. So I'm accepting that it takes longer, and that's also fine. And also learning is the whole point, and having fun is the whole point. So your skills right now are enough for you, like for the art that you can make right now. It might not be, so example, if you are an artist that visions some like a great masterpiece in your head and your skills are not matching that yet, you need to accept that what your skills right now and the art that you make with the skills that you have now are enough for the art that you're making now. Like that art is valuable, and that what art is okay to exist. It might not look or sound or whatever exactly what you have in your head, but maybe it's time to fall in love with, just look at what you have created and let it exist. Maybe you don't need to actually love it. You can just appreciate it and respect it. Yeah. I sometimes think that we are not really responsible of the creativity that happens throughout us. I feel like creativity and flow and ideas is just something that kind of flows through us. And if we start filtering it too much or controlling it too much, we can actually pluck a lot of absolute amazing stuff. So I always say that just like let whatever comes through you creatively come through you, and then decide what to do with it later. If you start filtering at that point when it's coming through you, firstly, you are at a point where you can create yourself a creative block because you start overthinking every single decision that you're making. Secondly, you are hindering your learning process because you start overthinking about the techniques and what you still need to learn instead of just letting whatever is happening happen. I had a third point, but it escaped me. Let's have another point. Skill and voice take time to align. There's often a long gap between what we want to make and what we can make. This is exactly what I was just saying. Accepting this helps you to keep going instead of quitting too soon. And that was literally my point. Sometimes it's a marathon and not a sprint. Progress often looks like failure in disguise. Hating your work usually means you're leveling up. your standards are rising. That discomfort is part of growth, not proof of failure. Ooh, that actually resonates with me a lot. When I started music production, I was 23, and my first ever album that I created, or anything that I ever published, was an album called Kasvutarina, and it was songs that I have written since I was 17 to 25. And when I was 25, I recorded all of them, part of this uni degree module that I was doing, and released it as an album. I had no idea about music production then. I was just kind of winging it, and I was just doing my best. I even mixed it by myself, even though I didn't really even know what mixing really was. But I was having a lot of fun with it, and it was just a big part of my life. And a couple years from that, I started hating, even just after releasing it, I started hating it. I thought it was so badly recorded. It was so just cringe. And there was something that, I felt like it was not me anymore. I feel like I had released it, but something about it just made me feel like if people listen to it, they hear it and they define who I am through that art. It's often what happens is that when we are still learning, we attach our identity into the little, like the one piece of work that we create, instead of thinking it's the collection of works throughout life that happens. That's where my skill level was at 25. That's my tracks that I've done or composed and songs I've written since I was 17 to 25. There's a lot of beauty and quite amazing stuff in that, if you think about it. That was my perspective. That was who I was in those years. But because I started learning music production and I started learning more about the whole industry, all those things, only things that I could see was what was wrong with it, or how people might see me through it, because I felt like I was constantly developing and growing, and I wasn't that person anymore. So a lot of it was like very much me singing with a guitar, and I started thinking like, oh no, people see me as this, girl with a guitar type of thing, and don't see me as cool producer with synths. So part of me was more concerned about how people saw me, but it was not really about them, was it? It was about me finding my identity and learning who I want to be, that I clearly wanted to be more than that girl with the guitar. So then it made me uncomfortable if people only saw me as that, because I thought I was more, because I was constantly learning about everything. So now, many years later, I look at that album and I actually love it. I appreciate it. I left it to Spotify. It's there in my account, like in the beginning of everything, because it's part of me. It's who I am. It's what I knew at that time. And that was okay. And it's okay that I hated it for a while, because I understand that that's just natural psychological thing that can happen, is that we grow and we learn. And throughout that, I feel now I have found a place where I don't hate my work anymore the way that I used to, because I don't know if it's also because I've come to the point with music production where I'm very comfortable with all the techniques and I have clarity. So I don't really think about techniques anymore. I think more about the art. But at that point, I was so much like eager just to learn the techniques and figure out, does it sound, because I couldn't trust my ears. So I didn't know if my track sounded professional or not. But I was very concerned about that, instead of just, did I actually like my art? So the next point was actually make peace with the trash phase. Sometimes the only way to create something you love is to make 20 things you don't like. Quantity leads up to quality if you let yourself keep going. And that, I think, is exactly the point of everything I was just trying to say. I kept going. I kept learning and crafting and creating more. And in the journey, I created a lot of stuff that I didn't like or wasn't me or didn't feel like it was me, but I kept on going. And as I said, I have found a place where I can appreciate those years and I can appreciate everything that I have done previously, because also I learned that none of that defines me. It doesn't define my skills. It doesn't define who I am. It's just a piece of me that happened at that time. It was a piece of my creativity. And it's almost like a little snapshot of who I used to be. And I think that's really cool if you think about it. It's almost like a diary of who I used to be as a person, or who, like what my life looked like. There was a time that I didn't know music production. Only I knew how to play piano and violin and guitar and sing. And that's how I made my music. And that's gorgeous because that's who I used to be. And now I'm a completely different type of person. And I still use those elements in my music because I want to take that little piece of who I used to be into my art now. Because I want to remember that girl who was super excited to learn music production, who was super fearless to make tracks and songs about all kind of things. I even made like social commentary or politics or all kind of like quite strong lyrics. And all of that has changed a lot. But I'm really proud of myself of those times, because that was the time, like the album, when I wrote that album, it was really much the time before I started to learn more about music industry and the rules. And I feel like a lot of that actually also took away, it made me more afraid and more confused, because the more you learn, the more you need to also see all the options, and you see everything that is out there, and it makes it harder to even find yourself in a way. Or you just keep on going, and finally, one way or another, you will find your thing and your way if you keep on looking and you keep on searching what it is. But you need to, I guess, again, become comfortable with not knowing. You need to become comfortable making things that you don't like, because that's normal, and that's, everybody goes through that. And anyone on the top of the food chain of people that we admire and we idolize, they've gone through stuff of making a lot of stuff creatively that they're not proud of. I literally just yesterday watched the Robbie Williams movie, and in that, he was in a boy band and he had lyrics, and he didn't really feel comfortable of showing them to anyone else because he felt that it was really vulnerable. And then he found a composer who he felt comfortable enough to kind of put his soul out there a little bit. But people like him, he's done stuff that he might not like right now, or he was insecure about, but he kept on going, and he also found people who could help him to find that. It's okay to ask help, and it's okay to find communities. I do think that my Patreon community has helped me a lot to find my voice, because it's a very safe space to hear other artists and to explore other things. And I feel that in that community, because it's so non-judgmental, I have been able to hear other people's music and other people's stuff so intensely that I feel inspired by it, and I feel like it's given me a lot of direction. And me sharing my stuff with them, and we have discussions about it, it has really helped me to kind of see what I like and what I don't like and so on. So I guess that's the reflection surface of having someone you can trust and a safe space to share, where it's literally safe and non-judgmental. It can be so beneficial for finding who you are as a person as well. Let's take one of the letters now. Okay. Hi, Liina. I started making music about 6 months ago, and I honestly hate everything I make. I have all these ideas in my head, and I know what I want it to sound like, but when I try to produce it, it just sounds flat and basic. It's like my creativity is way ahead of what I can actually do. I keep thinking maybe I'm just not cut out for this, but I also don't want to give up. How do I keep going when everything I make feels wrong? Can relate. I think this is like probably the most asked question ever. And I understand that this is also very something that when you work in the industries with creativity, where you have a lot of technology around, it can make it really confusing. I'm very actually interested to hear how other people in the other art industries feel about this. So like example, if you're a painter or sculptor or graphic designer or writer, how do you feel about this topic? So please go and write that to me, like letters and reflections on this topic at Liina Thinks on Instagram or TikTok. But I would say that obviously, like we kind of covered it a lot already, that one only thing that you can do is to continue. But I would say there's two things. One is give yourself time just to create without goal. Just explore your creativity with everything that you already know, the techniques and the tools you already know. So you're not constantly thinking what you're supposed to know, but what you know now is enough. And give yourself time to do that. And even if the outcome is something that you don't like, just keep on doing that, because that gives you the enjoyment and the reminder that this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. So if you keep on giving yourself the space just to create for fun, to explore and just focus more on yourself and your creativity rather than the tools, or not knowing the tools, or not knowing, you will honestly, I'm telling you, you might surprise yourself. But also a reminder that in these kind of industries, what I was saying, where we use a lot of tech, you will never know everything there is to know. I tell you that much. You will never know everything there is to know about the programs that you're using, the techniques. And only thing that I would say that, like in music, you have the science is right. So you can't really argue with, how acoustics work or sound waves work or like the physics of audio. But everything above that is just an opinion. It's just a perspective. There's no right or wrong way to use the tools or use the things. You need to become comfortable with that there is no right or wrong way to do anything. So, and also that you will never know everything. And there's no person in this world, your uni student, uni teachers. I used to be a lecturer in a university, and I realized that bloody hell, even the other people, like nobody knows everything. I am an able to certified trainer, and I've been teaching music production for years. And I would say very comfortably, I don't know everything. I know enough to feel comfortable, but I don't know everything, and I will never know everything. And nobody is. And there's literally no right or wrong way to do anything. So it needs to, so my point was, like, when we're using a lot of tech, it can get very overwhelming and very confusing, because we see all these options and we see all these plugins and tools and synths and machines and whatever. And we feel like, I need to learn all that to sound professional, to sound good, to sound correct. But you don't. what you need to do is just learn to trust your voice, to learn to trust who you are as an artist, to learn to trust if you like it or if you don't like it. Whether you know how to use the techniques is secondary. They are useful. Absolutely, they're useful, but it's secondary. Because whether you like it or not, so let's say that you use a technique in whatever art industry you are, you use a technique and you're not 100% sure the correct way to do it. You're not 100% sure why you're doing it. You just use something that someone else has shown and it works because you feel like it works. You don't need to know exactly why it worked. If it feels good and it sounds good and it looks good, it's good for you. And that feeling of the intuition of what you want your art to look or sound or feel like, that's more important of what the technique is called. So yeah, it's okay just to be and accept what is. Your skills is what it is, and that's okay. You're good enough right now, and your art is valuable right now. Whatever your whatever skill level you are, whether you're a beginner or professional. It's 26 minutes already, so let's finish up with one of the points. Document your progress, even if it's messy. Keep old projects, look back once in a while. Seeing your growth over time helps you build trust in your process. It actually really does. I'm happy that I have my YouTube channel that I can go to some of the first videos. They are so cringe when I see some of this stuff. Like, I see my progress completely. And I also like that album that I talked about, my first ever album that I made, you know, I think it's adorable now. I have enough like distance out of it to feel like, you know, I'm proud of myself that I put myself out there. I had fun. I created something and that has value. I had no idea how to use any of the techniques, but I created it still. And I appreciate that because I'm happy that it exists in this world. And it might be that I'm the only one who listens to it once in a while, going back and listen to it just to see where I started from. But that's okay. It still has value even if nobody listens to it or watches it or anything. It still exists and I give it the respect that it deserves. And yeah, and maybe that's a good place to end. Give your art the respect it deserves. Just give it space, let it exist. You are nobody to tell your creativity that it's not allowed to exist. Because yeah, that's a good ending point. Bye. See you again soon. Come and talk to me at Liina Thinks in Instagram and TikTok. Bye.